Hello and welcome into Indiana Sports Beat Radio. I am your pseudo producer, Keegan. We are waiting with bated breath for Jim's arrival to today's show. Sounds like he's having some technical difficulties. I'm here with the co-host for today, Dylan Sinn. We were just talking a little bit before we started, but fill us back in, Dylan. How are you doing? What have you been up to?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on, Keegan, and eventually Jim. I this is kind of summer is Fort Wayne Tin Caps baseball season for me, but I am generally kind of doing everything around Fort Wayne at this time of year. One of the things that your audience will mostly be interested in is I just wrote a nice profile of Matt Roth, who you guys will remember as playing for IU basketball during the Tom Crean years. He is the new basketball coach at Blackhawk Christian here in Fort Wayne. He's very excited to get started. Kind of a really cool situation for him. Is 32 years old and now has one of the better high school coaching jobs in this area. So I just wrote that, and just kind of all over the place. This is fill in the blank time before we get to football and basketball here. Football is coming up sooner than you think. You got about once you get past 4th of July, you really start to get into football and figuring out, okay, how is this going to look? And that's the fun part of the football offseason.
Yeah, and we're talking about AAU a little bit, Run and Slam, which was a while ago, but just discussing the discourse on Xavier Booker. Why do you think it's looking like and kind of trending in the direction that Indiana might be kind of behind enemies or kind of a little bit out of the running in terms of landing Xavier Booker?
Yeah, it's surprising to me, mostly because Indiana has done such a good job. I think that's kind of the missing piece to Indiana's recruiting right now, is that they've done a great job with these kids out of state. Kenya Hunter is not an Indiana guy in terms of like where he's from. Kenya Hunter is an amazing recruiter, and he's gone and helped them get Jalen Hood-Schifino. He's helped them get Malik Renault. And Indiana's staff has done a good job of getting these guys in the door and getting these high-level recruits. But what they haven't done yet is gone out and gotten an Indiana kid. Mike Woodson has been on the job for 14 months now, and they've had no in-state commitments, despite there being some pretty good players who are in-state, Xavier Booker being the latest example. And that's a somewhat notable hole in their recruiting resume right now. And I think as Xavier Booker trends maybe towards some other schools, although he has not ruled anything out. There's still a chance that IU makes a late push or something like that. But it's just something that is going to have to that is going to be the next step for Indiana to really develop a recruiting machine. Is you get these guys from out of state, but you also have the ones that are in state. I think that was kind of the missing piece going forward here.
Are you discounting CJ Gunn?
I am not discounting CJ Gunn, but they did not get him to commit. He was already committed when Mike Woodson took over. So no, to be clear, they got him to recommit. He thought about it. He talked to Mike Woodson. He decided he liked what he saw, but that was an Archie Miller commitment. The staff did and to be clear, Archie there was a lot of holdovers from Archie's staff that ended up on Mike Woodson's staff. But that was an Archie Miller commitment, and he just decided to stick with Woodson because he liked what he saw, which is fair. I think it was kind of what happened with a lot of the players on the team, which was at the start of last season, which was, we've heard this story from Mike Woodson a couple times now, which is he got the job, and he came in, and he gave this big rah-rah speech and said, okay, who's with me? And no one raised their hand. and he was like, oh no. And so the next step was to go out and talk to Trace. And once because Trace was leaning toward leaving, as we've heard Trace say, and this was back in April of 2021. And Trace was leaning toward leaving. He had one conversation with Woodson, completely changed his mind, said, I'm staying. I want to be a part of this. And once Trace stayed, then a lot of other guys fell in line. You had a lot of guys enter the portal, but a lot of them came back, except for Armand Franklin was the one that they lost in the portal. There was a significant loss because he was a very good player. as a sophomore for the Hoosiers in 2020-21. But getting Trace was the one where it was kind of like, okay, everyone else it seemed like was kind of okay. Maybe this guy does know what he's doing a little bit, and we'll give him a shot. And I think CJ Gunn and Logan Duncombe were a couple of guys who at the time were committed but not signed, and it was kind of like, okay, we have to get these guys too.
Yeah.
And CJ Gunn, I think, talked to Coach Woodson at the time, I think was the reporting, and committed to him as well, essentially. I don't think he ever actually reopened his recruitment, but it was one of those things where he was definitely thinking, okay, I have to talk to this coach before I decide whether I'm sticking with him.
So have you seen any kind of trend or push towards them having more of an emphasis on recruiting in state, or could you see Mike Woodson just saying, you know what, it's not really important. I'm going to hit Georgia and I'm going to hit Florida more than Indiana?
Yeah, I definitely think it's not something where they're ignoring it for sure. I think that was obviously part of that was Dane Fife's job when he was one of the assistant coaches, was to make sure they got Indiana kids, and it wasn't really happening, and I'm sure that was part of the reason they felt they had to move on from Dane, although of course there were some other things going on there. But that was a part of it. And so they bring in Brian Walsh. They promote him to a full-time assistant coach. They bring in Jordan Holes as the team and recruiting coordinator. Jordan Holes, of course, Indiana Mr. Basketball, former Indiana All Big Ten player. So he knows the recruiting territory, despite never having coached before. And so hopefully he can get started here pretty soon, because we know he just finished playing in Germany. He'll probably get to Bloomington fairly soon here, and that's kind of the next step, is to build that out. Because I don't think they want to ignore in-state recruiting, absolutely not, because they can get 5-star kids. We've seen that from around the country. They do develop this pipeline to Montverde that they started with Jalen Hood-Schifino and Malik Renault. But you still want to get the kids in your backyard. Those are the kids that are going to be most receptive to your pitch on the average, right? Obviously, there's going to be outliers. But on average, those are the kids that are going to be most receptive to you. And quite frankly, Purdue has run Indiana recruiting for the last 4 or 5 years here. Now, IU has some notable exceptions with Romeo Langford and Trace Jackson Davis, obviously. But a lot of the best players in Indiana, guys that are making impact in the college basketball game right now, are at Purdue. Yeah. And so those are ones where if IU is going to become the best program in the state again, they need to get some of those kids. And you know what Indiana has a lot of is shooters. Mm-hmm. Those are Purdue has gone out and gotten a lot of really good shooters from within the state. That's what IU's missing. That's one of the missing pieces of the team. It's why, and we can talk about this going forward, later in the show, I am still skeptical about all of the Indiana's the Big Ten favorite hype. But those are the kids you got to get. The kids that are filling it up, hitting 100 threes a year in high school. They can play a little defense. They can handle the ball. And those are kids that have traditionally gone to Indiana. And right now, a lot of them are going to Purdue. And so that's something that IU has to start turning around here.
Yeah. Well, that's because everyone is now going to Purdue right now, or had been. Yes. There's no coincidence there. If you look back along the timeline, you'll find your answer to that question. I agree and disagree. They have to get the one they have to get, but they don't. Like Purdue is stocked up and down their roster with kids from Indiana, which is great. It's going to look good at the next FFA convention, and it's going to be great for them. But I was thinking about this the other night. Purdue was going to have last year. How much talent was on that Purdue team? An immense amount. Immense. And guess what? Same old Purdue. Blah, 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 blah. Purdue wins in the Big Ten because they play to win in the Big Ten. And that's it. There's no changing. There's no gamesmanship, matchups, changing things, because they can't. Purdue is what Purdue is. Big old lumbering dud. It's like they're like George Foreman. When it works, it's great, boy. When it works, it hits like a rock, but it also falls like a tree. So I was just thinking about that just yesterday. For the first time, I'm like, everyone talks about Matt Painter. He's a great guy and he's a good coach, but he's a good coach. He's not a great coach. I don't think. I think that's why, like I just said, Purdue does what they do. They win when they win because you get out into the world where you have to make adjustments each week of the NCAA tournament. Man, that's it every week. Oh my, who are we playing now? Different scheme, different personnel, different style. Doesn't happen. The Big Ten as a whole has not done that. So it's not like we can say I'm not picking on Purdue, but they had Travion Williams. Why are you sitting Travion Williams? Why? I just kept thinking that yesterday. I'm like, why the hell you're running Lurch out there, but George Foreman basically, but yet you've got Travion Williams sitting there on the bench.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Again, so this is my area of expertise, right? This is what I bring to the show because I also cover Purdue as much as I do Indiana. So I think last year was kind of created an existential crisis for a lot of Purdue fans. I think a lot of other Purdue beat reporters would kind of agree with me on this. Is that last year kind of felt like, if not now, when? Because you talk about the lumbering team, and they do have a lot of guys that play slow. But last year they had a lot of guys that could move the ball up and down the court too.
I wouldn't call them slow, but I think are they still finishing one of their games from last year?
Sure, right. And so, and we can talk about this more after the break. But Jaden Ivey is a superstar.
Yes.
And to pair him with all the talent they usually have and still not be able to break through, it's like, okay,
did have
if not, yes.
How much they did have.
Exactly. And so it's like, if not now, when? And I think it created a little bit of an existential crisis in that program, and it's not clear where they go next. It's been a tough offseason for them for a variety of reasons.
And that's what cracks me up, and we do have to get out of here. Alec Lasley's joining us next. But that could have been a peak for them, and you add in NIL because Purdue was horrifically behind. At first they're doing this, well, we're going to do it the right way business. We're not going to just jump out there willy-nilly and yada, yada. What they were really saying is, we're way behind, guys. We don't have anything. We don't even have lunch money for NIL. So we're going to, they're like, well, we've got our NIL. They were just behind. And it's going to make a gigantic difference. And they're already behind. Now, that's why Indiana was already behind. They were 2 years behind. Boom. Mike Woodson's caught them up. Let's get out of here, though. We got Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com going to join us next to get us caught up on everything that's going on, coming up as well on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Brought to you by our good friends at BB's Market, a part of the WOW Club and the WOW Network. Make sure you go join the WOW Network so you can order some beautiful fresh steaks from BB's. I cannot wait to do a show from there and just have them grill up one of those big fatties. Lots more coming back here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We'll be back with it with Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com. Dylan Sinn as well from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette right after this. Hey, not having commercials is mind-boggling. It blows my mind.
Why aren't there commercials?
Because I'm doing this from a MacBook, and John has like a 2-monitor computer set up.
Yes, we have a different production studio, and
my kitchen table and laptop is a production studio.
Yeah, he's at his production studio today. The number one producer is on vacation. The number two producer is on his way. Just started vacation.
So we're stuck with Keegan.
We are down. It's like having a bat boy go up to the plate for.
Oh no! You're not gonna badmouth me when it comes to baseball. I'll take you yard. Also,
I knew that would get him, baby.
I joined the show and started talking, and Tebow within the first 5 seconds just roasts me. He comments this.
I saw that right when I got on here.
I was like, I've been here for 5 seconds.
I couldn't get in this stupid thing. I was sitting here working for the last 3 days until like 7:00 at night, and this computer must have been one on strike. I'm like, dude,
Jim, what would you do if your computer just completely fried out right about now? I feel like you would have a massive heart attack.
I don't know why you think that. I'm always in control and I never get excited
or stressed. You never get stressed.
I never stress about anything. I would go grab my headphones and start doing it on my phone.
Yeah, that's how he did the Tom Allen interview.
Well, that was because we didn't know those were live in-person interviews.
Well, that's irrelevant if your computer worked or not.
Oh, but what was
you did it from your phone because your computer was messing up.
All right. Well, I don't remember. You just keep an eye on the time.
Oh, okay. I'll shut up.
No, are you in bed?
Me?
Yes.
I'm in my kitchen.
Yeah, I can't tell. It does look, because that looks like the baseboard in the back, the head frame and stuff like that. I'll give Jim that one. Yeah.
See, I was like, wait a minute, what the hell? See,
turn your TV off, Alec. We're on a freaking live show. 15 out.
Where has Alec been?
All right, back in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Friday, wrapping up the week. Hope it's been a good one for you. Regardless, we've made it to the weekend. Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette sitting in as he does on Fridays, and now joined by our good friend Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com. Man, for a period of time that nothing's going on, and we're not to lament anything, but people like me and you and Dustin, well, let's see. Yeah, he's already getting rest. Keegan's already getting rest, so I'll leave him out of that one. But the rest of us are supposed to get rest. He's in his bed resting right now, isn't he? Luckily, he's off camera right now, just pitching a fit. Just there seems like there's still a lot going on. It's not like I just got dropped off the truck on the corner here. I know it's always a busy, but it just seems like, man, I think it's because the back end is coming forward faster, where guys usually report to school later. Now it's like, man, soon as school's over, boom, off you go. Let's get at it. Let's go. You've got what's his name from up your way, Dylan, that's not being allowed to play in the All-Star game because he's reporting to Seton Hall. Tay
Davis.
Davis. And we talked about that yesterday. I think that's ridiculous. There is no effing way. Now I know he's just coming in, but that a couple of days is going to make that big of a difference. And if it does, then you're not a damn very good coach, is my opinion on that. But anyway, get off of that. But there just seems like there's a lot going on in a lot of different directions. CJ Gunn's got graduation stuff going on. There's just so much happening while there's nothing happening.
Yeah, and I think the bigger thing that seems like there's still a lot of stuff happening right now is just Indiana's a lot more involved in the recruiting world, especially this year, than it has been in some time, right? Whether they're trying to get guys on campus, whether they're sending out offers, whether they're making guys, top 5, top 9 lists, whatever it may be at this point in the summer. It just seems like Indiana is obviously a lot more involved in what they have been, and that includes the team camp. That includes multiple other things, Huber's Winery and stuff like that. That just gives the fans a lot more to kind of look forward to. A lot of that was impacted, obviously, right, by COVID, and so I think we forget, 3-4 years ago what kind of the timeframes were really like. But yeah, I mean, you graduate from high school now, and you have a couple days, and barely a couple days, and you're right into your college training and getting into the weight room, right? All we saw last weekend the 4 freshmen for Indiana arrive on campus, and then TJ Gunn had to go back for graduation, had to go back for a graduation party, get back to campus and start summer school. So there's a lot going on for these incoming freshmen. Kind of a very busy 2-week kind of time frame, and then they get really kind of settled in and get kind of into their rhythm. But yeah, I think just the bigger thing is Indiana's just a lot more active on the recruiting trail than it has been in the past 4 or 5 years, and a lot more active with key prospects around the country that are notable recruitments that you just hear about more on a daily basis.
Dylan, I think what he is saying is they're a lot more active with high-end elite talent that they can actually land. That is a big difference. That's actually considering Indiana, and that is actually coming to Indiana, because that had been the case prior to. I mean, it's not about cutting on. He did not land. Archie Miller could not land anybody outside of the state of Indiana. Just nobody was going to come play for him. That narrative is flipped now, and that's part of this is because they were forced to go out at first, but they're also, Indiana's going to be no different than Kentucky, Duke, North. They're going to be maybe a little bit better, but a national recruiting team now, which they've always been a national team, but they've not always been a national recruiting team because they don't have to, because they're in Indiana, fortunately. But right now they don't have those Indiana guys that we normally see them have. But that's just a matter of time to me. That changes. All the work they're doing at Alec and everybody at the Hoosier.com, Kyler, Staley, and Keegan, every weekend talking about, they're in with they are more active, but they are active with guys that's actually going to come here and actually make a difference for Indiana. You're talking guys all the way down to 2025, Dylan, Trent Sisley and those guys. But those guys they're going to be high-end, well, they are, but they're going to be high-end elite recruits at that time. Well, Indiana is going to be in on them. And that's NIL side. And so for people who are all concerned about NIL controlling everything, yeah, it's going to screw up some stuff. There's no doubt about it. But guys are still going to want to go where they want to go. As long as they can get an NIL deal. If a guy wants to go to Indiana, let's say Sisley wants to be an Indiana guy. If he wants to go there, he's going to go there. He'll get the NIL deal he wants, that aside. But I keep going off on tangents, but everything's just woven in now. It's like, wow, every conversation you can have those same things about.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with the NIL especially is that you just have to be on par, right? You don't have to have this out of this world operation in order to get players. It's more about you have to have at least what everyone else has, and then you can go back to recruiting. And then what becomes important is what's always been important is in recruiting, which is connection with the coaches, campus, facilities, et cetera, et cetera. And I think IU they are doing very well in all of those things. So as long as you are on par with NIL, you're going to do okay. I think we've seen that. They do have guys with NIL deals, but also they have Mike Woodson, who's apparently able to close recruiting pretty well. When they get guys on campus, he's able to convince them to come to Indiana. And I think that has been kind of the key to the recruiting here, is they're able to get these guys on campus in a way maybe they weren't before. Obviously, COVID played a part in that as well. But they're able to get these guys on campus, and then when they get on campus, Woodson has done a good job of saying, we want you to be here, and the players have kind of bought what he's been selling. And I think that's one of Woodson's biggest strengths as a coach so far.
Alec, I laugh because I in my head, which is a scary, dangerous place. I understand. Don't worry. But I sit there and run a scenario of Woody sitting at a kitchen table, running through his little bit. I'm like, oh man, I can see him just killing it, just leaning back, being cool. He's cool hand Luke. That's the thing about him. He's cool hand Luke. And I guarantee you in that kitchen, across from mom and dad, he's like, man, come on. I'm going to have you sitting up here with Mello, with this, with that, yada, yada. But he's so smooth. He's believable. That's the thing. He's real. And I think that carries over into his recruiting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the biggest kind of change not to say that he probably didn't have this, 12 months ago, but the biggest difference here in the last year with him is he doesn't necessarily need any of these recruits at this point now. He's shown he can close anyone almost that he wants, that he's been recruiting at any point in the recruiting cycle. A year ago, he had to go out there and he had to have those guys. Now he can pick who he wants. And that's the biggest thing. He's kind of changing the narrative and making these kids want to go to Indiana more than he wants them. And that's that when you're already that confident as a coach, when you're already that confident as a recruiter, and you change that mindset of, hey, I don't need you, I really want you, but if you go somewhere else, that's going to be totally fine. I'm going to be totally fine because I'm going to go land a kid that's probably going to be better than you. That creates a great dynamic for Indiana, because you're not, one, settling on anyone, two, you can go out and basically pitch anyone you want and have the confidence that you're going to get them. But three, you know that Mike Woodson's always going to have 2 or 3 other kids lined up that, hey, if I miss on one, I know I'm going to get 1 or 2 of these other ones. And so honestly, it's whoever wants to come here more than the other kid. And that's the biggest thing that you haven't really had with Indiana, are numerous kids at the very similar spot on the floor and skill-wise want to go to Indiana at the same time. And now you're getting that in multiple different classes. And so Indiana really gets to kind of pick and choose who they want. And you look around the country and the programs that do the best, that's how they set up their recruiting styles. They don't need to go out and get anyone. They have these kids come to them. The Carolinas and the Dukes, you hear about all these, class of 2024, 2025 guys, before they can even really talk to these coaches, already name those schools as their dream schools and say, hey, if I get an offer from there, they're going to automatically, be in my top 3. Some of these kids are even putting Carolina and Duke in their top 3 and their 5, 1 without even visiting, 2 without even getting an offer. And pretty soon, if Mike Woodson continues to go on this trajectory that, again, very, very short cycle that we're on right now, only about 12 months, but continues to go on this cycle, you're going to start to get kids to do that for Indiana. And once you turn the corner when it comes to that, and you get that mentality around your program, that's a really, really dangerous thing for a lot of other programs around the country, because we already know Mike Woodson can coach. He's proven that he can develop. And now he just needs to continue to build that consistency from one class to a next.
Absolutely. Dylan, getting his own style and Mike Woodson with confidence sounds like a scary, scary thing. And I think he has that confidence after you talked about 12 months of like, all right, he got the dose. He knows what he's doing already. Now he can really pinpoint and narrow the focus. So we'll make sure where we are. All right. Team camps here of late happened last weekend. Always an important thing to get these guys in. It's a rare opportunity for those guys to come in and play at Indiana, to play on the Assembly Hall floor, to play in Cook Hall. That's a cool thing for those guys. But it's also a nice way of getting them in and kind of like an official recruiting visit.
Yeah, it is. And, especially right now, Indiana thought they would probably get guys like Arrington Page, TJ Power, Jamie Kaiser, KJ Evans, a lot of these other guys on campus in June. Right now, it's kind of looking like they probably won't get any of those guys on campus right now for this month. So to get, probably 15 prospects that you're at least continuing to talk with, either have offered or probably will offer in the next few months, already on campus for a setting like that, that's huge. One, not only to be able to get your coaches out and able to see those kids, but two, be able to get them on campus, on the floor, like you said, kind of get that history that maybe they haven't seen before. Maybe this is kind of some of these prospects' first time to Bloomington. Maybe it's multiple different times that they've been there. But the fact that they were also able to get Gabe Cupps down there, obviously an out-of-state kid, but still in Ohio, to come there at the same time with a lot of these other guys, that's also, super instrumental. He's a guy who has been very, very much on the forefront of recruiting for Indiana right when he committed. So to be able to kind of combine all of that into one for these quote unquote kind of unofficial visits, where obviously not the same sort of visit that they would have if it was truly an unofficial visit, but still give them the option to kind of walk around campus, see some of the facilities, obviously play in the facilities, and be able to have the coaches watch them. Definitely instrumental in especially building some of these younger class of 2024, 2025 relationships that they've already become heavily involved in at the moment.
Always good to have options, Dylan.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's what Alex said, is that you need to have options in recruiting. I think a lot of the time when the last couple of cycles under Archie is that IU didn't have a whole lot of options. They missed on some of the higher end kids. And then it was like, okay, well, now what? Right. So what we saw under Archie was a lot of times IU was put in the top 3, and a lot of times a guy chose somewhere else, especially the higher end kids.
But here's the thing, though. All those kids, there's no one that anybody thought was going to IU anyway. There was never, not one of them was like, oh, God, I thought they missed on him. No, they already knew. Nobody's coming here. No one was going to play for Archie. No, that's the thing. Archie was recruiting. That's like me trying to date a supermodel. It ain't going to happen. I can try all I want. She can put me all the top 5s. Oh, wait, he's such a nice guy. Let me put him in the top 5. He's such a nice guy. I'm going to put him in the top 5. Make all the top 5s you want. If you don't make a number 1, it don't matter, baby. What Ricky Bobby say? You're just the first loser.
There you go. I mean, that's Matt Painter. He talked about it at the NCAA tournament, was if you're finishing second in recruiting, you're losing games on the court. Like, that is, you need to know who you can get and how to go out and get them. So
boom. That's a great statement. We got lots more coming up. Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com is with us. We're going to get caught up on recruiting, what's going on, and what's happening this weekend. The All-Star Weekend coming up, as Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette is here as well. Brought to you by good friends from BB's Market. Make sure you can go to visit BB's Market, or visit BB's. I got to get that pulled back up. Visit bbs.com. Or you can also go to the WOW Club and sign up first, which is I highly suggest doing, because you would get bonus benefits. Bonus, baby. Just go to your Apple App Store or Google Play Store. It's totally free app. Sign up. Start earning WOW rewards today. They are a proud supporter of IU Athletics. So support those who support you, those who you want us to cover. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
The time before that, he flew.
Yeah.
Dylan, I don't think that Dylan's headphones are plugged in. Do you?
I might just be using the wrong mic. Hang on.
Because I've never heard yours come. It never seems to change. It sounds like, your raw computer mic.
Alec, what are you drinking? You drinking a Guinness?
Oh God, no, man. That's an iced coffee, splash of skim.
That's the most New York thing I've ever heard in my life.
No. The New York thing is put like oat milk or something else in there.
Splash of skim. Alec is like 5 years behind.
Jim doesn't know anything about like fat free. Man, that guy just shoves bacon. He's just talking about the huge steak that he wanted earlier.
You cook him up a nice fatty.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me a little bit better now, real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Perfect.
What's up, Alec?
Dylan, who's playing point guard here for Purdue, man? We're getting slim pickings out there. They have. Do they still have a spot left? Scholarship left?
They do have a spot. No, they do have a spot left, and they've been holding on to that spot for months here, and they don't know what they're doing with it. The plan was to have Pack. The plan was to get Pack, and when Miami swooped in with that $800,000 NIL deal, that ruined the plan. And Eric Hunter transferred to Butler. That wasn't good, and that's what Purdue is in trouble. Like we can talk about this on the air if you want. Purdue is in trouble, and so I don't know what they're gonna do. There's still some guys out there. Maybe they just make Ethan Morton, the point guard, but. Sure, they can go with him too. But yeah, it's like I wrote like an IU roster reset once Trace came back. It was like, okay, here's what the roster looks like next year. And we've had like several readers come in and be like, okay, you wrote one for IU, why aren't you gonna write one for Purdue? And my editor's been like pushing me to do one, and I'm like, okay, but they have a roster spot open, and if they don't fill it, like it's gonna be a problem. So I'm trying to hold out and wait to write it, but I don't know. I might just have to do it eventually and be like, okay, I don't know if they're going to have anyone.
I mean, their backcourt is, bad's not the right word. Obviously, just super inexperienced. We don't know what's going to happen with, Fletcher. I don't think, Braden's ready to play huge minutes. So,
I think
you're looking at.
If they had gotten Nigel Pack, I think Braden Smith redshirts.
Oh yeah, I honestly thought that was even if they didn't get him, but they kept some of those other guards. I thought that would have probably been the best route to go.
If you do have candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas.
Exactly,
because you still have, like you said, a guy like Ethan Morton who can play on the ball, who you have some confidence in. He's obviously played some bigger minutes, but
I like Ethan Allen instead.
All right, that's on air in 5, 4, 3.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here, coming to you on this Friday. Brought to you by good friends from Andy Moore Honda, of course, and the Wild Club. Make sure you go there, sign up, get ready for summertime. Grilling, baby. You got to have these big sausages, steaks you can get from VB's. There's also plenty of restaurants here in Bloomington, in and around, whether it's Southern Stone, the Courtroom Sports Grill down in Bedford, Feast for your wine and cheese selection. That's some place that Alec would go. They have a sommelier there, Alec. In the break, and the sommelier, of course, for those of you who don't know, is a very, very high-end trained. You have to test to get there, and so to be called a sommelier, wine expert. But I heard Alec talking about his coffee getting a splash of skim. What the hell's a splash of skim? You bump into somebody that has the skim and whatever falls in. Is that a splash of skim?
Man, well, I drink my coffee for the actual coffee part of it.
Can I get a splash of skim, please?
No, I don't want milk with coffee splashed in there. So, sometimes they overload the milk, so you got to be kind of precise with what you want.
Yes, sir, you do. Can I get a splash of skim in that, please?
I bet you they hear that every day at wherever.
I'm not the only person who says it. That's for sure.
I'm just kidding. I know. I'm just messing. Mitchell Page coming on later today, man. We're gonna have some fun.
Oh man.
Well, you'll be here.
Yeah.
Go away.
No, I was just saying because Mitchell Page was at IU when I was.
Oh, there you go. But you didn't get the memo either, so you're going to have to start studying quickly in the breaks. We're going to be talking about Tombstone, and I got him on this rant. The Reno brothers committed the first train robbery in the history of the United States, and that happened here in Jackson County, down outside of Seymour. And if you'll go onto your Google Maps, literally, you could do it right now and pull up Google Maps and Seymour, Indiana. And if you widen out just a little bit to the west-southwest, you will see an area called Hangman's Crossing. And it's called Hangman's Crossing because that's where they hung half of the Reno brothers gang back in the 1860s after they were tired of. They were like the first James gang, but they were out of Jackson County there, outside Mount Vernon or around North Vernon, whatever. And the people got tired of it, and when they caught him, they vigilanted him, lynched him. Do you see it? I bet you see it, don't you?
Yes. According to this, they called themselves the Jackson County Vigilance Committee. Those are the guys that caught him and made sure they didn't do that again.
But it's no joke. I mean, you can right now go on Google Maps and you southwest of Seymour, and you're going to see Hangman's Crossing.
Yep, right down there in South Central Indiana.
See, there you go. So you're going to study up on that in the breaks, because we're going to be getting into that a little bit with Mitchell. He's all fired up. We were talking about Tombstone. I got some special I'll bring along for that. But right now it's basketball, baby. And they were playing ball back then, but not to this level. Maybe that's why they were going down to pull a player back. And speaking of next season, I think Purdue is going to be a team that has the farthest fall in the Big Ten.
You think even further than Wisconsin losing Johnny Davis?
Yes, because Wisconsin is losing a great player, but the way Wisconsin plays is they can have two guys make up for him, production wise, in the style that they do it, because they spread it out. They wear you down. It's a different. What Wisconsin does frustrates anybody. That's why they can still be successful on the national scene. They haven't been. They haven't had the talent to be, but they still can be, because they can still frustrate other teams. As like Purdue, no, they can't, and didn't. They force you to play us. You know, you're going to play our style. All right, well, we have seen what happens. But anyway, I just think Purdue is going to have the furthest fall. Illinois had some loss, but Purdue had some of the most talent, and they've lost the most talent.
Yeah, I mean, losing Jaden Ivey, obviously huge lottery pick. Losing Travion Williams is enormous. Those are two guys. Travion Williams has been a program fixture for the last 4 years. Guy who immediately contributed and has been kind of one of the more underrated players in college basketball, in my opinion, over the last 4 years. Jaden Ivey is just kind of a shooting star who was there for 2 years. And obviously losing Sasha Stefanovic too, one of the better shooters in the Big Ten. So I think you're right. I think there's going to be a drop off there. They are not going to reach the number 1 ranking in the country next year. Let's put it that way. And so the question now becomes, can Zach Edey carry the load by himself? And it's not going to be by himself. They have talent around him, but he is going to be the focal point of the offense on every single possession in a way that he has not been before. I mean, he was honorable mention All-American last year. He had a very, very good season. One of the best inside players in the game. Now the question is, can he do it when everyone knows that the ball is coming to him on every possession? And I don't know if that's the case. We'll have to see.
Yeah, Alec, I agree with that. And that is a situation next year where the conference is going to be – Indiana is not the favorite by any stretch of the imagination. They're one of the favorites. Michigan is going to be up there. We don't know what Ohio State is really going to be like. We've talked about we don't know what that's the thing. How have these teams have changed until it gets going? But
I mean, I think you have to put Indiana as in my opinion, the clear favorite, mainly due to the fact that they don't have the amount of change that a lot of these other programs do. Right? Illinois is obviously reloading with Matt Mayer from Baylor and Terrence Shannon from Texas Tech, two extremely talented transfers on the wing there. But they also lose a lot of key pieces, and those are guys that you don't really know how exactly they're going to fit, right? This is Matt Mayer's final year. He's probably going to want to go out there and showcase what he wasn't able to do at Baylor. Terrence Shannon's not a guy who can just sit and shoot. He kind of needs the ball in his hands to create. So you lose Curbelo. You obviously lose Trent Frazier. You lose Williams. You lose a lot of those key pieces that have been very key parts of Illinois' success over the past few years in the backcourt. So that's a big question mark. Michigan, obviously, they bring back Hunter Dickinson, but they still lose Diabite and Houston, and they lose Mike Smith from a few years ago as well, that they weren't really able to replace with Devontae Jones last year to the extent that they were probably hoping. So they still have a hole in kind of the point guard position there. There's just a lot of question marks still with Ohio State because they bring in so many new pieces as well. And they have a couple guys who didn't play last year due to injury that are coming back as well. And so you look at Indiana, you already know what you have in your front court. You have the best front court in the Big Ten, arguably in the entire country, with Race Thompson and Trace Jackson Davis when they're playing at their best. The question is just which Xavier Johnson you're going to get. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows it in the Big Ten. Everyone knows it across the country who's actually following Indiana basketball. That's the biggest question for Indiana. But you bring in a couple key pieces that are really kind of shoring up the rotation with Jalen Hood-Schifino, Malik Renault, and you have Jordan Geronimo, who's obviously ready for a breakout year, whatever that quote unquote breakout looks like, since he's obviously not going to be playing 25, 30 minutes a game. But I think you look at the Big Ten and, what other team is returning what Indiana returned and has a potential national player of the year. And you go down the list and there's maybe two teams, Indiana and then Michigan and Hunter Dickinson. And I think you can clearly say that Trace Jackson Davis is going to have a much bigger impact than Hunter Dickinson will have, just due to the fact with the players around him and pretty much not having to force everything that potentially Dickinson will have to do to kind of shoulder a lot of that scoring load that Michigan's going to lose.
Yeah, I don't think Indiana basketball does not have to hit 10 threes a game. It would be nice for them, but because we've seen too many teams be successful in the national run that aren't necessarily prolific three-point shooting teams. That's why Indiana is thought of as a favorite. They still don't have prolific shooting in that regard, but they not only, as Alec mentioned, they didn't have loss, but not only was there no attrition, there was addition. And usually there's addition by subtraction with a lot of these teams, by attrition and whatnot. Indiana had no attrition. They just had some dead weight, really. Indiana got leaner, I guess you would say, because, and I've said it repeatedly, how everyone thought that Indiana had this depth last year, and that was such a falsehood. They did not have depth. They have people in jerseys, but that does not mean you have depth because you got a guy wearing a jersey on the bench.
To be fair, in previous years, they had not had players in jerseys either. So,
I won't disagree with that. But yeah, just having a jersey filler, jersey stuffer, that's like being at the Oscars, man. Seat stuffers. People down the seats. Yeah, they just had jersey stuffers. Now there's talent there. There's actual talent there, and that's going to make a gigantic difference. And what Mike Woodson is doing, though, they're back to he's somehow trying in this uber modern age that has changed even since he got to IU recruiting. He's still almost recruiting the old fashioned way with the guys next year, the guys after that. The guy, I talked about the Sisley guys. They're in the class of 25, man. But you know what? They're in deep on Sisley and Harrelson. I'm going to be shocked if both of them don't end up at IU. And they're 3 years away. And to be able to talk about that in this day and age of recruiting, that's nuts, I think, my opinion.
I mean, it is notable for sure that IU they did not bring in a single transfer this year. And I understand why they didn't, because there were no roster spots available once Race and Trace came back and once they added Malik Renault. But it is notable that they have no transfers. Well, I mean, obviously they have transfers from past years, but no transfers from this cycle on the roster. They built this team from the ground up in that way. And so I think that's pretty notable that IU has kind of eschewed the more modern, we're going to reload through the portal mindset. And it helped again that Trace and Race came back, and they would have probably had to go get guys from the portal if one or both of them had left. But that just shows you that Woodson's capable of keeping these guys around, and I think that's an important piece of it too.
Well, and let's not pretend that the NIL is not a big portion of that. It is. Sure. Indiana is taking advantage of the NIL, and they are doing it very, very well. Alec, what is coming up for you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, with team camp over, we have kind of a little bit of a break. Obviously, a lot went on with Pangos All-American camp, Team USA tryouts. We have that for the U17 team, with probably about 4 or 5 different IU targets that'll be down there. Most notable, Arrington Page for class of 2023. A main reason why he's probably not going to be able to get onto campus in June. So he'll be at Team USA tryouts later this month, I believe, in the next week and a half he gets down there. But, outside of that, kind of the biggest, recruiting kind of topic that impacts Indiana is Derek Queen from Montverde Academy, 2024 big guy right now. They're starting to have some whispers that potentially could reclassify, or at least be open to reclassifying to 2023. If that happens, that throws a huge wrench into his whole recruitment, especially with Indiana. He kind of jumps up into that top guy for Indiana in the 2023 class if that were to happen.
Well, that because all of a sudden, from a timing standpoint, Indiana's roster will have a nice big fat opening for him.
Yeah, exactly. And he's a guy that you could pair with an Arrington Page, 2 totally different types of players, a center versus more of a stretch 4, which is what Indiana's pitching Arrington Page to be, is that stretch 4. So that's the most notable kind of development that needs to be kind of followed throughout this summer. Probably won't know anything until we get to the fall for him, just due to the fact that, still 2024 class can now start having direct contact with coaches here this upcoming week, where coaches can actually contact those prospects directly, which they weren't able to do prior. So we'll learn a lot more in the next kind of 45 days about his recruitment, what visits he may go on. He's just at Maryland. Maryland's a team to watch in that one. But that's probably the biggest development that you really need to follow this summer, because if he does reclass to 23, that's significant for Indiana. But also then you look, and now they have a lot of different options for that 2023 class in the front court with Page, Xavier Booker, and Derek Queen, who are 2 of those are going to be national recruitments. And Arrington Page is a guy who I still think is really flying under the radar when it comes to his potential. So
that's, because Derek Queen was someone that was not, Indiana did not look to have a very good shot at landing, but that changes everything. Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com. Make sure you give him a follow on Twitter at Al Lasley, and make sure you go to thehoosier.com. Sign up if you have not for complete coverage on Indiana recruiting and everything else. Alec Lasley, I hope you got to have yourself a great day, sir.
I appreciate it. I'll enjoy my coffee. I hope you do the same.
Oh, that splash and skim, baby.
Goes down just right.
Hey, we got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat, brought to you by our good friends at the WOW Network, and where you can sign up for the WOW Club, a proud sponsor of Indiana Athletics. So support those who support us that help bring you this content. It's a totally free app. Sign up for it. Start earning WOW rewards today. Doesn't even matter where you are. You can order steaks and online from BB's. I mean, these are seriously good. Just like that place out in Nebraska. I'm not going to mention it. You can figure it out. It's the same. It's the same concept, except this. I'm going to guess that they don't support any. They might support a Big Ten team, but I bet it's the Cornhuskers. I'm getting a cutoff sign from the producer. Oh, for Zach is there. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat. Zach Osterman joins us right after this. That's
There
what
it
I'm trying to
is.
figure out. Hey, Zach, I'm trying to figure out, Keegan, if we have someone next or not. That's what I needed to know. Well, I didn't know that. You got it. That's how's Zachary doing?
What's up?
How are you doing, brother?
I'm good. How about you?
I cannot complain. I have a damn it. I think it's your fault. My computer was frozen this morning. I've had a tab open for 3 days that I've been saving. I'm like, I'm saving this for Zach. I'll never find it again. It was about Liverpool, the trade. Did they have a big trade?
They are about to sign a Uruguayan forward from Portugal, which I know sounds very strange.
Wait a minute. Did you just say an Uruguayan from Portugal?
Yeah.
Does that mean he's from Uruguay, but he's from
He
Portugal?
plays in Portugal.
Oh, I got you. No,
His
okay,
name is
I'm
Darwin Núñez. It looks like it actually is done. So he's 22 years old. He's really good.
He's done. He's done. Let's see.
You ever talked about soccer on here, Jim?
Oh yeah, with Mike DeCourcy, he's on Tuesdays. Are you kidding me? He's Mr. World Cup, man.
He's
He's
a big
Mr.
Liverpool
Soccer.
fan too.
Big what?
He's a big Liverpool fan too.
I don't know if I knew he was a Liverpool fan. I know he's a huge. We talk about soccer. I'll talk about anything that's
Trust me,
vile.
I know. Trust me.
Well, hey, that's what makes it. This is not a.
Talking about gangs from the early 1900s. Little bit of everything.
It's a gang. They committed the first train robbery in the history of the United States outside of Seymour, Indiana. It's kind of note. You never know what you get when you come here, son.
Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
Well, you know what? I bet they had to run to catch that train. So there you go. Maybe they were robbing. It was a sport to them.
Cody out.
Man, Zach, I have a subscription to the Indy Star, but I could never figure out what my stupid info was, so I could never get it on my computer. And so finally, I'm like, the hell with it. I started another subscription. So right now, I have 2 freaking subscriptions.
For now.
I got to get this other one.
I can figure out who to talk to about that. Forgive me. I have subscription problems all the time too.
No, it's like you can't. I'm like, that's why I just laughed. I'm like, the hell with it. I'm getting another subscription. So I have 2 subscriptions. And
5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you on this Friday. Happily to you, and gazing out the window, and look over clouds, so it's not the worst in the world, but we'll brighten it up for you because Zach Osterman from the Indy Stars with us now. Zach, how are you, brother?
I'm good. How about you?
Cannot complain. Dylan Sinn along from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette with us as well, brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar, where finally Zach's going to get to make his wife happy here soon with some joyous gifts from that. I was talking earlier that my producer, I said, who was it? I said, you probably don't know what a sommelier is because they have a sommelier there. I'm like, I laugh because I'm the person who normally would not know what a sommelier is. But fortunately, a girl I went to high school with was one of the first and only female master sommeliers in the world. She was a sommelier on the top of the World's restaurant, which is the top of the towers. Fortunately, she left obviously before 9/11 accident occurred, but there's that. See, you never know what you're going to learn here. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star. How are you doing, brother?
I'm good. How about you?
Can't complain. I know a lot's going on with not a lot going on. We just had Alec Lasley on, but it's All-Star Week, and it's kind of a break, but it's not a break because you got guys moving in, you've got guys graduating. It's a busy time. So these guys have like no downtime, man. It's like the 1 minute they do, they've got to do something else. But it's a busy time. But it's All-Star Week We've had the juniors already beat the Kentucky juniors in that game. Then, of course, a good game for the juniors against the seniors. Everyone was not there, of course, but what are you expecting to see tonight and tomorrow night?
I mean, I think I think Kentucky's won one game in like the last 10 years or something. I mean, it was when I first started on this beat, and I'm not saying it isn't a big deal now, but when I first started on this beat, like the Indiana Kentucky games were huge. Like they were still very, very culturally relevant. And it really has felt like in the last 10, 12 years, like a lot of years, the Indiana junior senior game is more interesting than the Indiana Kentucky game, just because, I mean, I've covered Indiana, and I'm not trying to pick on Kentucky high school basketball. It just feels like the gap has just expanded.
Continues to widen. Yeah. They've won. What have they won? 3 games in 20 years?
It's. I mean, again, it's not a lot, and there was that long losing streak they had where Indiana was winning both, and it was always closer in Kentucky, which you understand. But I mean, it really has. I mean, I think the last one I covered was maybe 3 years ago, because obviously COVID kind of got in the way of some of that too. And I just remember basically, I think my editor saying, do you want to cover the Indiana Kentucky game for the IU guys that are in it, or do you want to cover the junior senior game? And I was like, I'll just cover the junior senior game, because there's more guys there we're seeing. And so again, this probably sounds
there's more intrigue.
I don't mean for it to. This isn't me being like, haha, Indiana rules, Kentucky rules. Like that's, both of you are inferior states to Georgia in all respects. But I just sort of, it really has just kind of, like I said, it just feels like the junior senior games are more interesting these days, carry more, as you said, more intrigue than often the Indiana Kentucky games do.
Dylan, now Dylan, you're from. I'm from Southern Indiana, so I grew up getting a double dose of this game. Basically, being in Indiana, I knew the importance of it. I knew how important it was. It was. Excuse me, it is to the players, Mr. Basketball and all that stuff. But the Kentucky Indiana games, no matter what, we're still. Boy, the talent sometimes were great, and then all of a sudden, like Zach said, it just went away completely for Kentucky, and so their interest is starting to wane. But I don't see that happening for Indiana. Worst case is they have to bring in Illinois or Ohio or something and rotate it, mix it, change it. I don't know, but Indiana's not going to go away, nor should it. But yeah, I remember those big crowds in Freedom Hall. But once again, Kentucky was benefiting by having that game on the Indiana-Kentucky border. So you're always drawing a Kentucky audience for their fervor. Like right now, their game is on the river in Owensboro. It's on the Indiana-Kentucky border, not in a highly populated area, obviously, but it's still to try to draw people from Indiana, because you can put that game in the middle of Indiana and it's going to do fine. You put that game in the middle of Kentucky and you might as well someone sends you a letter about it.
And I do wonder whether part of it is that you're not getting, especially in the last 10 years or so, and I'm not sure how much of this is the problem, but for Kentucky high school basketball, a lot of these guys aren't going to Kentucky. Kentucky is not recruiting in state especially hard. So they're recruiting more nationally, so you don't have the local interest in that way either. And I wonder if that affects the
absolutely great
gameplay somewhat as well. Yeah.
And now here's something that is odd, Zach. And not that I have a chart, but in my head, which is a scary place, we all know, but I think that I can count right now 4 offers at least and there's potentially a fifth coming from this staff to a kid from Kentucky right now in here last year through now. And the fifth would be the kid that had the good run in the All-Star game. So Powers, I think it was Powers from Prince down in Princeton, down in Western Kentucky. But to see 5 offers down to Kentucky kids, that's a change. That's 5 more. I mean, no staff has ever offered that many kids from Kentucky in their entire Bob Knight. I don't know if Bob Knight offered 5 scholarships over. I'm not kidding. Over the entire time he was here, not because it was like this anti thing. He didn't have to. But it's changed so much. Is the AU what is changing this, Zach, to broaden it out? Because, like I said, Kentucky's producing more talent. These guys are playing on. 2 of these guys are playing on one of the Indiana elite teams.
I mean, I guess I'm scrolling back through while we talk, and I'm just looking at the 24/7 composite rankings. I found in the last 3 years 1 kid from Kentucky that was top 100. Now I've got 3 in the last 4 years. None of them were top 50, and I'm not again like this.
Right.
It's mean. I think a big part of it has always been because, like, I think the point is valid that Indiana or that Kentucky doesn't recruit the state very much. But I think the reason Kentucky doesn't recruit the state very much is because there's not much talent. There's not nearly as much aggregate talent in the state. When you think about, I mean, okay, so I got all the way back to 2018, from 18 to 22. So 4 of the last 4 top 100 players in the last 5 years from the state of Kentucky, only 1 of those top 50. You think about the state of Indiana, you think about all the kids from Indianapolis that go to Purdue, that go to IU. You think about, the kids from Indiana that have gone to Kentucky in the past. You think about the kids from Fort Wayne and Northern Indiana that go to Notre Dame, that go to Purdue, that go to Michigan, that go to Thank you.
That was too good. I could not pass that one.
No, that was good. That was good. It's an Atlanta United soccer jersey my sister gave me for Christmas. But the kids that go to Michigan State, the kids that go to Ohio State, like Indiana just has more talent, pound for pound. And maybe it wasn't always that way. Maybe Kentucky used to have more talent, or maybe the series was just more competitive because this stuff wasn't so pronounced. But I just think we're in a spot now where I've gone down and covered Indiana Kentucky games where the IU Mr. Basketball is going to Michigan State, or the Indiana Mr. Basketball is going to Michigan State, or he's going to Indiana, or he's going to
Kentucky,
Ohio State.
Or Louisville.
Kentucky Mr. Basketball is going to Western Kentucky, something like that. And it just, there will always be this is true of Indiana. To be fair, it's also true of Purdue, and I think to some extent true of Butler. Fans will always expect a certain presence in state recruiting. That's always going to be part of it. But part of it is just there's a much greater depth of talent in Indiana. And so when you match up Indiana's best against Kentucky's best, a lot of the time that matchup is going to be difficult for Kentucky.
Yeah, so that's not going to change. Speaking of which, Indiana is also moving more into a national recruiting type, which, you look at a team like Kansas, well, they no in-state recruiting, basically. It's all outside in. Duke, North Carolina, think about it, their stars aren't coming from North Carolina generally. So it does, but Indiana, I think, will be able to do that more so than any other team. I think it's going to come out. Water finds its own level, and NIL has got to find its level. I think it's on its way to doing that. Zach, I saw some stats in The Athletic yesterday that I was reading in regards to the transfer portal, which that's not NIL, but I think it is going to start you have to start using numbers for stuff, and they're going to start using these numbers. But these guys have to start looking at this. 60% of the players that went to a new school, only 6 of 72 that went from the low to mid, all the way up to the mid majors, the transfer saw an increase of points per game. It's really pronounced. If they were not close to being a major, it didn't. There was a huge drop off. So the grass is not always greener, and it just doesn't always work out. I mean, you hear about the guys that Nigel Pack stories. Oh, it's great. Decided blah blah blah. There's a lot of other guys that are not getting that increase in time or not getting that increase in minutes.
I think the issue is, and I know you got a break coming up, so I'll try to make this fast. But someone said this, and I think I heard someone say this, or I read someone, writing it. The issue in my mind is basically that we sort of say, well, it's the market. The market will decide. The problem is that this isn't a market that has existed before, because it used to be illegal to do a lot of what's like financially what is motivating this market financially used to be illegal in the NCAA's, according to NCAA rules. So now we're creating this market, not necessarily from scratch, but we want to call it free agency. It doesn't work that way because it's not, there aren't sort of set times when you can do this and you can do this. And there's a rookie pay scale, and there's a luxury tax, and there's a salary cap. All these things that ultimately in professional free agency help determine the parameters. This is what this player is worth because we only have this much amount of money to spend. So that's what we're going to offer them. And compared to them, this player's worth that. So we're going to offer them that, again, to fit within the parameters of what everyone is allowed to spend. And so what you have some schools that are basically just, I think whatever Jimbo and Saban say, Texas A&M made no bones about all the millions it got together to put into its roster. You have some schools that are doing that, and there's a lot of schools that say, well, we can't compete with that. But then a lot of people also saying, but is that sustainable? Is it really like when you're also going to need your boosters to do other stuff, and you're also going to need your fundraisers to fund other stuff? And when ultimately, while it may seem like it, rich people are not bottomless pits of money and did not get rich by giving all of their money to someone else just to win a football game. They gave some, and they're still giving some, but they're not just going to keep going and going and going and going forever. So what we have is basically just like this situation where we are sort of creating a new market. Certainly we are spinning out of what we would consider the market. We are spinning out of that something that resembles it in some ways, but in some ways is very new. And so to your point about water finding its level, I'm not sure all the water is even in the tank yet.
Right.
And to kind of extend that metaphor, I think we're still waiting for the water to figure out where the tank is going to stop filling up. Then water will find its level. Yes, I agree, broadly speaking, especially as we get into maybe more state laws, maybe Congress getting involved, all these different things around NIL. I agree that a lot of this stuff will just kind of smooth itself out over time. But I think that it is a little bit different. I think we want it to be like familiar to a lot of the markets, quote unquote, we're familiar with now. And I don't think it's quite that. And I think that's why it's a little more unstable.
Well, to speak directly to your point on that same piece, they didn't use Indiana, but I will use a team like Indiana in football. If Mark Cuban, a billionaire, wanted to say, all right, I'm going to turn Indiana football into a Indiana basketball, that would in essence, and I don't know if this would be quite right with Indiana being in the Big Ten, but probably not too far off. $644 million was their calculation to turn a team like an Indiana into an Ohio State. And if you don't believe that, you've heard Ryan Day just say, hey, it's going to take us $13 million a year to keep our roster or our the roster we need in play. So there you go. That's a lot of numbers. And I don't know how much anybody's going to want to throw that kind of money around.
there will always be some money, but I think what everyone's asking is essentially these donors can't just keep pouring it. Like right now, I think everybody's doing it because they're like, well, hey, it's legal now. We can do it legally now. This is great. But like 5 years from now, again, rich people didn't get rich by giving their money away.
No, sir.
They're
What's
not-
up next for you? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. What's up next is probably more writing about NIL.
Well, it's the gift that keeps giving. That's for certain.
It's crazy. And the last thing I'll say on it is, and this is something someone else said to me. They said they were told once, if you feel dumb about it, don't, because nobody knows a thing. And all the coaches and athletes and administrators, all of them are learning right along with you.
And it changes tomorrow. It'll change tomorrow. Yep. Well, next week, maybe we can talk about how it's filtering down to high school, because that's, I would say that's next, but it's not next. It's already here.
To some extent it is. And I mean, but it is one of the next evolutions of, are we going to see kids moving states to take advantage of NIL? And does that change recruiting somehow? And does that mean that, does that change the whole dynamic of high schools or prep schools more valuable? Who knows? But
make sure you give Zach Osterman a follow at the Indy Star if you don't, and be a subscriber. I am. We've got to let Zach set sail. Appreciate you being here as always, brother.
Thanks for having me. Good to catch up.
You bet. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star joining myself and Dylan Sinn. Mitchell Page is going to join us when we come back. We're going to have some fun. Knock it down, man. See how it's test your knowledge, get you built up. Don't forget to join the WOW Club. Please go there. It's totally free to sign up for. Start earning WOW rewards today. WOW Club members earn exclusive discounts and dining dollars to spend. And you can spend those whether in the Bloomington area when you're coming in for a game, multiple restaurants, or you can order from around the country, around the world for that matter, from BB's. We're going to put together some Hoosier packages really soon and some giveaways. So get you guys to start. It's grilling time, baby. I got my new grill. I'm ready to go. It's not brand new, but you a big griller? Look, Keegan's giving me that cutoff sign, so don't even answer that. Hey, we got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Back with it right after this.
Is Mitchell coming on?
He's supposed to. Did you send?
I have Zach as the last guest, and I did not send Mitchell Page a link.
Okay, send him the link, please.
Do you know his email?
Fuck. I'll send it to him. Never mind. MITCH. Why didn't you reach out? No wonder he wasn't popping in.
I don't have his email on the contact list, and it just said Dylan, Alec, and Zach for Friday. We're gonna run past 10:34, probably about 4 minutes. So just follow the ticker up until about 1:54.
So 10:38.
Yeah, but I mean the ticker should be able to track it for us.
I always use that.
20 out. Five, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you here on this Friday. I hope you're having a good one. Jim Coyle sitting in with you, as is Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette, brought to you by our good friends at Remax Realty. If you're in the market for a home in the Indianapolis area, you're going to need Cheryl Sizemore and her 2 decades of experience. It may be the difference between getting the home you want and not. If you're in the southern Indiana area, look down by Louisville, Clark, Floyd, Harrison, Jeffersonville, New Albany, all that area, Barbara Pop, Realty Service, Real Estate Service. Reach out to Matt. We'll get that for you, but Matt at barbarapop.com. Plenty coming up. Plenty to talk about. Is hopefully we're going to have Mitchell on, but maybe that starts next week. We don't have it. We were trying to find a crafty name for it, Dylan. I always said Mitchell's turning the page. Da-da-da.
I get it.
Hey, how's that?
You know what? You've done better, but it's not bad. A solid 6.
Keegan, get in here. You can't sit back there and laugh. I see he's sitting back there laughing. You're in. I know you're in bed, but just lean up a little bit.
I love how the journalism major has to say, I get it. That's how bad that joke was about turning the page.
Oh, come on, man. Is that because of age?
No, it's just that was just a very low caliber pun. You've done much better.
You're just saying this is not good. Oh, I get it.
Your advertising plugs are much better. Like driving 90 miles an hour to get to Cabello.
How about what was I going to say? All right, turning the page with Mitchell. See, I just like the continuation. Mitchell's turning the page. Mitchell's page.
Might be better.
There you go.
I think that's the one I ended up with. Mitchell's page.
We're workshopping it. This is what matters.
Live workshop.
Well, that's how you find. That's how you come up with greatness, man. Do you think greatness just pours out of this mind? It takes crafting and molding, and you gotta love it and caress it, and sometimes throw it back in and let it bake a second time, and then it's like a penguin. It's like a what they used to have. They still have them, I guess. Pinball machine in there. There's stuff just bouncing around all over the place, man. You think I'm kidding? I'm not. Looking forward to the weekend. Where are you doing this weekend, Keegan? You're not going up to the All-Star game.
Nope, that's Mason. We're gonna have another one of our interns there with Kyler. Should have some articles coming out after. Should have some highlights.
Kyler Staley from the Hoosier.com will be up at the Indiana senior game at Southport, as will Mason Williams, getting some highlights. So you guys will have highlights at the Hoosier.com as well to see. I'm not going to Owensboro for sure either. I'm like, wow, I would have, as we've talked about this, I'm like thinking, yeah, there was a time I never would have missed these games. Now it's like, But that's because that's also because when you're seeing 100 a year, you start becoming a little more selective. But yeah, well, it's something to do. But there's a lot going on. I mean, like I said, but let's talk about golf. Let's talk about the PGA. We have not talked about that. Let's get on that. What are you saying? TiVo's talking about the Colgate plant again. Man, he gets me. There's nobody that gets me out of my thought pattern more than TiVo. Asking, first of all, how about Trace Jackson Davis getting an NIL deal with John Jones Auto Sales? Wonder what car he got in the deal.
He's got a stat pack.
Better have been a good one.
I'm pretty sure he got a Dodge. I saw in his Snapchat story he posted looked like a new Dodge Charger.
I'm surprised No, I'm not surprised. I'm surprised this is the first car deal we've heard about. I mean, no, seriously, no one who advertises more than a car dealer.
Right.
It's true. Well, you take up all the advertising for Indy Moore Honda, so they're not really going after Indiana basketball players.
Well, hey, that's what it is, baby. That's when you're a sponsor of Indiana Sports Beat, you get the royal treatment. Do you think I'm kidding? Hell no, baby. We take care of those who take care of us. It's like I hope everyone else does out there. That's why you should be joining the WOW Club. It doesn't cost you a thing. You really should. And then you can order from BB's or whatever when you're here. But
see that was masterful radio by Jim. He took a joke from one of his co-hosts and he turned it into a plug for one of his sponsors. That is a pro who's been doing this job for a while.
Well, I'll tell you what, you have to learn how to do it. You do. And the funny thing is, when I am watching an event and I see somebody do it, I kind of just shake my head in embarrassment. I mean, you're like a carnival barker in a way, but but there's nothing funnier than a baseball announcer. Nothing. Ramirez up at the plate, takes one high on the inside. Hey, don't forget, next week is Kids Night on Tuesday. Bring the kids out. It's $25 popcorn. And, hey, there's a high one around the chin. Ball 4, he's going to get first base. And the day after Kids Nights, hey, bring the dogs out. I mean, they just roll right into the...
That's your retirement plan. You're going to move down to Daytona, and you're going to be the play-by-play guy for the Tortugas down there.
I love it already. I'd rather be on the west side. Can you get me something on the west side instead?
West side.
Seriously,
yeah,
I thought that I'm like, well, the west side. Not that I have an option. I don't live down there, but I was down there visiting recently, and I'm like, you know what? And I was on the west side. I'm like, this is the side I'd want to be on. So they probably get hurricanes a lot less often. As soon as I left, there was an impending hurricane coming, expected to make landfall directly where I was. I mean, you couldn't draw a pencil line any closer than where I was. I'm like, you've got to be jacking with me, man. So kind of funny. But I digress. What off topic were we off topic on to begin with?
Oh, I want to get into this.
Got me off. I love it. Tebow got me going to this Colgate plant. What he doesn't know is that used to be a state prison. That's what it started as. If you see a sky view of it, you can see the brick walls around it. It's no joke. They had an old Sparky in there. PGA, baby. Forrest said, my feelings are PGA player that leaves for the LIV tour should get a lifetime ban from the PGA. Wow.
Well, they did. I mean,
don't care.
No. Not a lifetime ban. And I'm going to tell you right now, okay, if people want to stand on moral ground, I'm not anything I say support. First of all, is not supportive of the Saudis or anything else. But I'm always the guy. If you listen, I'm going to take that other side because I'm like, wait a minute. What about this? So if you're going to stand on the moral side of this, there's this league. What is it called? Oh yeah, the National Football League. What is it full of players doing? What's that one guy's name? Deshaun. Oh yeah, Deshaun Watson. How many?
He's still being investigated, so he might get a lengthy suspension.
I get it. I'm just saying, this moral high ground stuff, it doesn't work for me because that works for people when they want it to work. That's an easy big old box platform we can all jump on. Oh yeah, boo! It is wrong, but don't sit there and throw stones in glass houses. And that's exactly what I think people are doing when they do that. I mean, the NFL, please don't make me go research and just create a list that would turn your stomach of things that players in the league have done. So give me a break with that. Again, I'm not supporting anything the Saudis have done. Of course, all that stuff's despicable. But I can't see, nope, sorry, you can't use that as an excuse. And though and then go back to a league where a guy gets away with nearly decapitating his ex-wife and a guy who was dropping off some sunglasses. I mean, so I just give me a break. People think that they can cloak it in different clothes and pretend it's something else. It's not. It's not, baby. Sorry. I know that I sound like a whatever, but it's not my intention. But there's my take, baby.
I will say, okay, here is not a counterpoint, but an addendum, because I think you can make your point.
Counterpoint.
There you go. I think you can make the point that you make, Jim, and I understand it. I get that point. I also think that even beyond that, the new live or whatever you want to call it is bad for golf, right? It's bad for the sport.
Why?
Because it's diluting the competition. Now you have these guys siloed into two different competitions. You have some of the best players in the world going to play in another tour. You're not going to have the best players in the world playing against one another as much as they used to, and it's diluting the product. And beyond any concerns about what the Saudis are doing and the funding of the new league or the new tour, it's diluting the product of both of them, right? Dustin Johnson not being on the PGA Tour stinks for the PGA Tour, but it stinks for golf too, right?
Yeah, but guess what? Here's what's going to happen. I don't think it's going to take long, but the guys who are going to end up looking like the smartest guys in the world are going to be Greg Norman, Dustin Johnson, every name that's on that list.
Sergio.
Every name that's on that list, they're going to end up looking like they're smarter than a Cracker Jack, because guess what? Their bankrolls just got fat.
Well, sure.
Fat.
But that's an individual decision, though, right?
Right,
like
yeah,
it's still hurting the game.
Wait,
Like
2 years,
if you
wait 2 years from now and see, it won't end up hurting the game. It will again find its way back. But in the meantime, they're going to end up walking away with probably $1 billion.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing is, I mean, they better hope that tour is successful, because the money is not gonna be flowing forever if the tour doesn't make money itself.
It doesn't have to flow forever. They've already given forever money up front. That's the thing.
They've given them a lot of money up front, but they were also making a lot of money on tour. And if
you give me $200 million, that is forever money.
Well, sure, but Dustin Johnson already made that kind of money on the PGA Tour, right? This is a bet.
Not at once.
Not at once, no. But that's my point, is that if he better hope that this works, because if it doesn't, it's going to be the only payday he gets for the rest of his life, because they're not going to let him back on tour. If this thing falls apart in 2 years, they're not going to let him back on the PGA Tour. He's just done playing golf.
Nah, I don't believe that. But let's continue this discussion, because I like it, and I want to know why did they have to start their own league? I don't get that. But Dustin, Dylan Sinn with us today here from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. Even got Keegan Nicholson in on this discussion right now, talking about that LIV. There's too many acronyms going on right now, too. LIV, NIL, NCAA, blah, 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 ISB, back with more right after this. Thank you. We'll be back.
That was good. Yeah, I want to get into this because I love the discourse on it.
So we've got, but we're good. We've got till like 10:38.
Yeah, but okay. You like to go to 156, but I have to add in the introduction and the outro. So that's like an extra minute.
Okay, then you have to tell me that.
Okay.
Just all you gotta do is tell me when to go to.
1:54:30 is when I would like you to be saying your final goodbyes.
Though it's tough, I must say goodbye for today. I just made that up. Oh, dude, I'm still working on my rap song. We need to talk about that.
Okay. This is the first time I've gotten actual confirmation that was you, because if you would have told me that someone hacked your phone, I would have completely believed you.
Hey, man, I was just in a moment of inspiration. It was flowing. It ain't bad though, huh?
I seriously I looked up lyrics. I'm like, what is he copying and pasting right now from lyrics.com?
How was it? I didn't copy that from any place.
It wasn't horrible. That's the thing. It's just
that's all, man. That's me just spitting. Come on, I'm with it. Dylan, I'm writing a rap song, Dylan.
Oh, well, I want regular updates on that from now on then.
It's not finished yet.
Oh, good. All right. Well, take me through the writing process whenever you get a chance.
Well, it's very odd, but I guess this is what it's like to be artistic. I wouldn't know. But in a text conversation with Keegan here, he just said something, and I don't know, and just boom, this thought jumped into my head, and I'm like, as soon as it did, I remembered that the song "Rehab" by Amy Winehouse. They were walking across the street, like she was with a producer, maybe some other people anyway. And they were just talking. She's like, they wanted me to go to rehab. And I said, no. And he stopped her and said, oh, well, we got to go upstairs right now and write that song. So that's how that song came to be.
I asked you about Peach Jam. And then he said, somebody's got to go. Why not you? He said, all right, deal.
They're getting an extra boast today.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you on this Friday. Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette is with me. Keegan at the controls today as John JTP returns on Monday from its vacation. It's kind of a honeymoon vacation.
Where did he go?
Well, see, you can't. I realized that when I finally got to take some time off. I'm like, you know what? I'm finally getting some time off. And the first thing everybody's going to ask, where'd you go? None of your business.
I just want to know if he's a mountain or a beach guy.
I wasn't talking to you, none of your business. I was just saying out in general.
I know. I don't care.
He's probably both, but he's closer to he's closer to a body of water than he is any mountains right now. I can say that, but he's not that he's far from mountains, but closer to a body of water.
Okay.
Huh.
So,
all right, let's get back in the golf discussion because I'm low.
And then John JTP2, who did an excellent job, Joe Lincoln, is en route towards another body of water. Different direction. That's all I'm going to say. All right. PGA, LIV. Everybody's getting paid today, man. NIL, LIV. All I know is it ain't me. I mean, you got a young Eminem on your hands here, yo.
A young one, okay.
Sure.
Well, I thought I'd try to slip that one by.
Here's my take on it. I watched a little bit of the first event yesterday. They're in London today, or this weekend. And it's very clear that they're trying to do it differently with the camera angles, with how they show the score, everything like that. But there is a lot of outrage of, there's a moral high ground that you have to follow. But there was a report that they offered Tiger $1 billion.
No.
To join LIV.
The report was in the high 9 figures,
so like 750 million.
That's the discussion I had with Rick Buzz. Yeah, I guess now Tiger is a guy. He's one of the rare. He's a Michael Jordan.
Yeah, he has too much money. He can't really get any more money.
Yeah, well, that's not true. He could have taken that amount of money and now gone out and bought a professional franchise if he wanted to. He didn't want to. He don't care. He's got enough going. Hell, he's just trying to get back to the game.
Yeah, it's true.
But they were willing to pay a guy limping around the course $750 billion and billions of dollars. See what
doesn't that kind of doesn't that support my point though? Is that they know they don't have enough star power right now, and they're trying to buy as much as they can.
Well, of course they are.
Right, but a lot of these guys aren't going for it. Like Dustin Johnson's a weird case. But
they're not going for it though because they've been threatened by the PGA. Let me tell you. But if
I'd threaten us if I was the PGA too.
But wait, if it was about the moral high ground, let me ask you this. If the PGA threat of sanctions were not there, how many guys would be over going, where's my check, baby?
Well, I don't like that doesn't get like, yeah, I mean, I think more players would be selling out if the PGA weren't telling them that they'd be sanctioned. But like,
so this is not about the moral high ground. That's the thing.
But like, it doesn't mean it shouldn't be about the moral high ground. Like, I understand your point about like, well, the PGA isn't any angel either.
But we can't talk about what it should be. That's the thing. We have to talk about what it is.
Sure. And I mean, the PGA, like they are well within their rights to sanction these guys. And quite frankly, I would be doing the exact same thing if I were them because that's, you want to keep these guys from jumping over. It's the same thing that like, it's basically what happened with the ABA and the NBA back in like 1967 or whatever it was. And the ABA came online, which I'm sure Jim remembers because he was already 40 at that time. But
yes.
But the kind of look Jim is giving me right now, boy.
Thank God I can remove. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I have it too. I'm a producer today.
That's nothing. Who did I? Oh, I had Bob Kravitz on the other day, and we were talking about when the St. Louis Cardinals started in something about the 1800s. I said, "Were you an intern in, Bob?" So yeah, trust me, wasn't as good as that one, but wasn't as good as Dustin. But yeah,
wait. Yeah. So yeah, I do, but I do think that my point is that this tour, the new tour, needs star power. It got Dustin Johnson. It got Phil Mickelson. Now Phil Mickelson is his own case because it seems pretty clear that Phil needs money, which is kind of shocking for a guy who's made as much money as he has over his career.
But gambler, baby, he's a gambler.
Yes, he is. And it seems like he kind of needs the cash. And so I don't know how much you're going to be able to get some of these other guys to jump over. And if your tour is built around Dustin Johnson and 53-year-old Phil Mickelson, or however old he is now, I don't know if your tour is going to last that long, quite frankly. Who's going to watch that? I know Keegan watched a little bit of the first event because it's not something new, but it's going to end up like the USFL. If the USFL had Lamar Jackson and no one else, right?
Well, that's my point. I couldn't care less about their tour. Why the crap are they starting a tour? What I would do is invent maybe a couple of big time events, 4 big time events. That way, because they're fighting an uphill battle that. And this just goes right back to what we were talking about a minute ago with can someone buy a national championship? If Jeff Bezos wanted to buy a national championship, that's the article that was in the Athletic yesterday. His dad went to New Mexico State, I think. He said they use that as the example, which is Indiana is a similar example to that. And it would cost. They estimated it would end up costing whatever the figure was, $644 million. I mean, are they now the Saudis? That's lunch to them.
Sure.
But I don't. What are they trying to grow? Is what I don't get. I mean, are they trying to gain an American TV audience? What is their point?
Yeah, I mean, they're all over the world. It's not like they're just playing in Saudi Arabia, and they're going to get that. They're going to get that audience.
They're not going to get that audience though. That it replaces the millions and millions and millions of dollars that they're spending on just these players.
That is my point. That was the point that I was making earlier. Is these guys, they're pouring all this money into this. Are they going to be able to make a profit off of that? Because I don't think they are. They had 53,000 people watching the first event. 53,000. Yeah. That's nothing compared to what the PGA Tour does. I know it's the first event, so you're going to take time to build, but who's going to watch 50 guys and one real star? I just don't see it. And so then the question is, if in 2 years this hasn't gotten off the ground, where does the money dry up at that point? And if the money dries up, which I think it eventually will, what do you do with the guys who jump ship? And that's what I think you have to worry about. If not Justin Johnson, because he did get all that money and he'll be fine no matter what. He can play just the majors the rest of his life, and that's fine. But the guys who jump ship for less money, what are they going to do? Because I don't know the answer to that.
I mean, in terms of the actual events, every event, the winner gets $4 million.
Right.
So the biggest
that's 3 times the amount, right? Of what average.
The most you get, the tour championship at the end of the season, the winner gets 17.5 because that's like
so
Alec.
that's not the tour championship though. It's 2.5 for the tour championship and 15 million for the FedEx Cup.
Yes,
which is the whole
FedEx championship.
Right, which is the whole season long thing. So that's not one championship. Right?
And then the next one is the players, which is 3.6.
Right.
So every event is 4 million, and last place gets 120,000. And another thing is, when I was watching yesterday, they got the best golfer in the Big Ten from Michigan State, I'm pretty sure, playing in the Live. So that's another thing they could do, is they could just poach those young guys from college and say, hey, you can go Corn Ferry, Q School, whatever you want to do, try to get your card. You can come here and you can make a minimum of 120K per event. And we'll give you a little bit of upfront money, just like they are Dustin Johnson, Bryson DeChambeau, and Phil. So I think they're in this for the long haul. And, another thing is they're offering the players so much money. How much do you think they would offer Scott Van Pelt or Jim Nance to come and call the game or come and call a match?
Hello, friends.
I think that would pull a huge audience if they can bankroll somebody like that.
Yeah.
Hello, friends. Assalamu alaikum. I don't know. Assalamu alaikum. Hello, friends. Assalamu alaikum. With the birds chirping in the background. Right?
I mean,
what does LIV stand for?
I don't know.
Because
54. It's 54 because there's 54 holes in a match that they play.
Okay, that's stupid.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's a stupid acronym. It's a stupid name. I see that because that's what I'm thinking. Well, this is reminding me of the Super Bowl. What does this stupid acronym stand for?
Saudi Arabian Golf League.
As Gary is saying, they sure can't call it SAG, Saudi Arabian Golf.
SAG.
Basically, my main thing is I don't know how this is that much different than the USFL or the XFL, other than they have way more money to throw around, but they're still going up against an entrenched competitor.
But I don't think the league bar guys from playing.
Oh yeah,
they can't.
Hold on, or just the teams bar them from doing it just to fulfill their contract with them. But that's different than the league doing it.
Sure. I mean, the PGA Tour can't stop these guys, really, although I'm sure that some of their sponsors would be unhappy if some of the player sponsors would be unhappy if they left the PGA Tour to go play in an LIV or whatever it is. But they can't stop them. The question is, can they induce them to stay on? And I think that's going to be the fight over the next couple of months here.
Look, Pete says that Jeff Bezos from Amazon just put in a bid of $7.7 million to buy an Indian. What?
You said million. It's billion.
A billion, my bad. Are you kidding me? What? 7.7 billion? A cricket? Oh, a league.
It's the whole league. It's the whole league, yeah.
But I guess there's a billion people watching in India.
Yeah,
No, I mean it's the most popular sport in India.
You know what? Every one of his customers watching. Jeff Bezos is going to become a Russian oligarch here very soon. If he's not already.
Hot takes on India sports beat.
I mean, hey, you never know what you're going to learn, man.
Yeah, but Dylan,
What?
Who do you
Longest course in
think?
the world.
Who do you think would be the best name for them to go after next? That would pull the biggest audience. Because Tiger's already said he's not going.
Well, it's the guy
But
they're
here's-
going after
no,
already.
First
which
of all,
is DeChambeau.
but first of all, look at the
Yeah.
guys they have. Patrick Reed, Bryson DeChambeau. What's the first thing that comes up to mind about those two? Nobody likes them.
Yes.
Drama.
That
Exactly.
was the first thing that I thought of too. Like, of course, those, like, I saw that, it was like, that's the most natural thing in the world for those guys to leave. Because you're right, they've gone around on tour, and especially DeChambeau, very clearly, not a lot of people like him. Brooks Koepka hates that man.
And that's which I think they're going to go after Brooks to try to get that dichotomy between those two.
It's funny. Did you see what Brooks Koepka did? Did you see what Brooks Koepka did yesterday? Yeah. For anyone who hasn't seen this, Brooks Koepka, he posted a bunch of the eye emojis, and then it was some kind of soccer thing. Like, it was very clear that he was trying to pretend that he was joining the LIV, and then it was like him commenting on some soccer transaction. And so I don't think that he is. I don't think he's going to be going to the LIV. I think he's probably happy to get away from Bryson DeChambeau.
Yeah. It could also be a thing where Jordan Spieth sticks out to me, of a guy who's been kind of struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
And he could say, look, I'm not making as much money here. They're going to give me $175 million just to sign up, and then I can make more money per event. So
what if these guys use this platform to speak out against human rights violations? What if they use it to?
It's irrelevant when they're paying you all that
Well,
money.
that's the thing. First of all, not going to happen, because the checks would stop coming immediately if they did. Like, that is the thing, is they can take that money away so fast.
Not if it's paid up front, baby. Paid in advance. Pay me in advance.
That's not gonna, like, that's the thing, is the issue with, you can sacrifice the moral high ground, that's fine, because the PGA Tour, as you said, is not great itself. But that's you are in effect selling your soul on this one, right? Like, that is it's a great payday. It's a great payday. It is. But you gotta come to terms with the fact that your soul now belongs to the Saudis. Like, that is something you have to come to terms with. And maybe it's no different than it belonging to whatever.
Heart belongs to
RBC
mama,
Heritage,
but your ass
or
belongs to
Heritage
me.
or Rolex or whatever sponsor you have. What's Phil's sponsor? He said KPMG.
He doesn't have any anymore.
He doesn't have any
completely blank
anymore.
right now.
But like KPMG, right? Back when they used to sponsor him, that kind of thing. Right? Like, maybe it's no different.
Yeah.
But that's something you have to come to terms with if you're going to take that money.
Yeah.
Tim said a young golfer hits a hole-in-one on the fourth tee, then loses his ball. Later, another golfer finds his ball, hits a hole-in-one on the 16th with the same ball. Has that ever happened before? Well, I don't know. My buddy Pete said that happened in Minneapolis right there. So crazy. It's true. So we already have confirmation on that. What nuts. It's 100%. I swear it's true. It's true. Allegedly, Jim Irsay just bought a golf course in Culver, Indiana, that is supposedly the longest in the world. Well, that sounds like fun. That's just where I want to go. Have to check that out, though. That is wild. And LeBron James joins the Billionaires Club, talking about owning an NBA team. I saw mentioning Tim Sullivan's a Louisville writer, but Louisville's been trying to get an NBA franchise forever, and they just keep coming up second to everybody because they've waited too long, for one thing, to do anything professionally, and now they're just surrounded by Indianapolis, St. Louis, Nashville, Cincinnati, Columbus, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, Detroit, back around to Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, they are completely encircled, and I don't know.
The problem for Louisville is that they wouldn't even be first on the list for the NBA. Like, if the NBA expands, the first place it's expanding is Seattle.
Yeah.
Right? Because Seattle has never gotten over the fact that the Sonics left, and they're still mad about it. And the NBA would give them back a team first if they're going to expand. Now, they might want to do two teams at once, but I don't think Louisville would be first on the list. It would probably be St. Louis would be the next place to go. It would be Seattle and St. Louis.
And St. Louis is an amazing town in the fact that we look at the Cincinnati Reds and their struggles, their ongoing struggles. How much difference is Cincinnati in size than St. Louis?
It's I think it's about the same, but we
exactly.
will check.
My point. Cincinnati has professional football and professional baseball. They're about the similar size. St. Louis has professional baseball.
They're almost exactly the same size, 302,000 and 304,000, according
and yet
to
St. Louis has no problem at all maintaining an elite level baseball program. The Reds can't do it. It's elsewhere. Hey man, we gotta
wrap up.
We're at that time. What another fun day. Cannot thank Alec Lasley enough and Zach Osterman from the Indy Star. Make sure you go follow those guys. Stay complete coverage on the Hoosier.com this weekend for the Indiana and Kentucky All-Star games that will be going on. They'll have live links and complete coverage up there and some videos up as well. And make sure you follow Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette at Dylan Sinn on Twitter, at K Nickerson 42. And I'm at Jim Coyle ISB. Make sure you subscribe and hit the like button for us if you wouldn't mind. And don't forget Jordan Hall's golf event coming up on June 23rd. It's an easy, if you want to just sponsor a hole, we're going to get you a sign, everybody around it, a picture. It's only $100 or more donation, and you can make that donation at mightycause.com/story/never-lose-hoop. We'll be talking about that a lot next week. We'll be doing the show from there, but that's not till the 23rd. For Keegan Nickerson and Dylan Sinn, I'm Jim Coyle. Until Monday, I will see you on the radio.